see each other and find strength. We stand together to go the length. All my friends now family. So if you want to know how I found my way home, just join us in the morning.
Let me start by saying that everything that follows here was made possible because the residents of Teller County have demonstrated again and again that we will stand together when crises occur. I'm Tommy Allen with the Teller County Sheriff's Office. I'm here at the Independence Mine in Victor, Colorado, because this is where Teller County's greatest philanthropist, Winfield Scott Stratton, became one of the first millionaires in the Cripple Creek Gold Camp area in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Mr. Stratton chose to live a simple life, and he dedicated much of the money he made to help those around him. I think he'd be proud of what we achieved in November of 2025.
Well, I've lived here for almost 30 years, and we've had several scenarios that happen in the community where if we get some call-outs, we get some community need, sometimes it's just a matter of telling people that we need some reaction, and Teller County citizens show up in droves.
So I'm always amazed by this county. I've lived in this county my whole life. Family's been here a very long time. And I am always amazed by the amount of people that are willing to help in this community.
You might not see your neighbor for another 6 months or more, or see somebody on the street, but when there's a true call that needs to be supported, everybody comes, they'll pull from wherever they can just to make it all happen. And I think that's truly special and different about this community. And I'm glad to be part of it, really.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the people that make the decision to live here in Teller County or grew up here in Teller County, it's a decision based upon self-sufficiency. And self-sufficiency doesn't have to mean that I'm responsible for myself and no one else. Self-sufficiency means as a community, we support each other. We support our neighborhoods, we support our neighbors. It's neighbors helping neighbors, and I think that's what we saw with this food initiative.
You know, Teller County is an amazing place. We are blessed to live here because of the great people that call this home. We are all different. We're a very diverse community, but when the need arises, we put our differences aside, we come together.
Teller County's always had a feeling that despite your political bent, despite what side of the tracks you live on, southern part, northern part, doesn't matter, left or right of center, that if there's a crisis, we're going to be there. We see it in spades during fires. We see it during bad snowstorms. And of course, we saw it during this food crisis as well.
As the government shutdown during the last months of 2025 became a foregone conclusion, funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, came into question.
It was a need that was sort of a quiet need. We didn't know how many people were going to be affected by it, but we found out we had more than 3,000 people that were affected by the SNAP delay, and that was going to be a big cut in a lot of people's income and how they provide for themselves and their families.
It was becoming critical already. So by October in 2025, we were already seeing double of the need for food assistance compared to the same month in previous years.
Teller County, the average age, last time I checked, was 58 and a half, median age. So it's an older population. A lot of them are in fixed incomes or retired. So when stuff like this happens, I mean, it really hits our residents hard.
First of all, the state of Colorado was $1.4 billion in debt. So if there were state grants, they were already lacking, average of 25%. So if you're a food bank or a nonprofit where you expected $100, you were operating on $75. So we knew that prior to the government shutting down. Second thing we knew, as we all know, is the price of food and gas and commodities was shooting through the roof. So less money to buy the same commodities at greater expense, it's a non-sustainable model.
Seeing trouble ahead, the elected leaders of Teller County began to plan for the worst.
Yeah, so actually when we got the news that SNAP would be going away, we already knew, based upon briefings from a lot of our partners here in the county, that people were already utilizing our food aid services at a much higher percentage over the past few months than what they had previously. So we knew the problem was coming, and The big concern is that there was a big cliff that we would go over and there wouldn't be a soft landing for anybody. So the most important thing at that point was to begin to gather all the people and make sure that we had everybody in the room to talk about what the potential problem was. And the goal was to prevent this becoming a crisis, not reacting to a crisis when it happened.
In the last week of October 2025, the USDA Food and Nutrition Service notified the country that it would not have the monies in place to cover SNAP requirements beginning November 1st. The Colorado state government intended to release monies to help in the crisis, but $0 would come to Teller and other rural communities. Instead, the Denver-based government maintained their normal practice of ignoring us and serving only the major population centers. In the end, the state officials seemed caught off guard, and the monies they released weren't even adequate for the urban areas.
We weren't getting anything. We knew that there was a large amount of money that was going to be dedicated to Care and Share, but our local networks that were really the main networks for food being delivered within our community probably wouldn't receive anything out of that, and it wouldn't get there in time anyways because the state was so slow at putting the framework together for themselves, and I don't think they ever really did.
Members of the Teller County Sheriff's Office and the Board of County Commissioners held an emergency meeting. We began planning for a groundbreaking program to cover the needs of Teller County residents who the suspension of SNAP would negatively impact.
So that actually came from Dan Williams and the county commissioners. So they had contacted me saying that there was going to be a serious emergency that had effect on benefit programs.
The first effort was knowing that our 5 food banks had reduced funding. Could we somehow go get funding in a crisis? So in El Pomar's case, I want to say 11 times since the Great Depression, this is at the end of a year where they've already given all their monies out. Where they basically recognize that there's a real crisis coming and they go back to the trustees to get more money. So we ended up getting $40,000 from them. As you know, we also got $50,000 from the mine, $15,000 from Karis, and the list goes on where people gave despite having already given.
So community partnerships, $10,000 plus another $10,000 November 25th for the government shutdown food. We had originally given Little Chapel $10,000 because they were part of our grant, and then we gave another $10,000 on top of that because of the government shutdown. And then for Community Caring Foundation, which is Aspen Mines, again, we had already given them $10,000 for a grant, and then we gave an additional $10,000. It wasn't even a question, honestly. It was like, okay, let's just get a vote from the board, and this is what we need, and boom, let's just do it.
That we did so that we could get and make up for the 25%. Then, of course, we went to go get commodities, and that being us and the food drives, along with the Sheriff's Department and school boards and everyone else, to get actual canned goods and vegetables and meat and that kind of stuff, so they wouldn't have to spend that money.
And I think one of the things we learned out of those discussions is we found out we had a lot more resources than we thought we did, because we had school districts stepping forward, we had churches stepping forward that are outside of our normal partners like Community Partnership or Teller Senior Coalition or the Aspen Mine Center. We had a lot more people in that room that were interested in helping people but didn't understand totally what the need was.
Because of the demonstrated successes and capabilities of the local food distribution centers, the idea behind the plan was to rely on those organizations while providing them with short-term but significant assistance.
We have been working with our nonprofit community for a very long time, since I came into office. And really there's a really good framework and partnership there already. My belief was, when we started the planning operation on this, that we could utilize the nonprofits to be that framework for us, to be the community outreach portion of it, and then what we needed to be able to do was to set up the logistic lines for it.
Well, the food banks already had a system in place for the most part as to how they collect and then decide as to what is dispersed and dispensed, and then how to get it out to the community. We were able to take bits and pieces from each of those respective organizations and collaborate best practices and collectively create a unified response.
I was asked all the time by other family resource centers and other communities, like, how do you get your elected officials to work with you? How do you get your your law enforcement agencies to partner with you? And I don't even know how to answer that question, because it's just like, we just do.
The plan was presented here in the Teller County Sheriff's Office training room to an assembly of the commissioners, Sheriff's Office personnel, municipal leaders, food pantry personnel, faith-based leaders, school district superintendents, and other stakeholders. The reception was at first hopeful but cautious.
I think the cautious was that they all have their own nonprofits. They were in their stovepipes. And as you recall, we didn't try to replace that. We wanted to simply put a lasso around it or centralize it. We believe that each one of those food banks who had been doing an incredible job was already being overwhelmed, and that what was coming, i.e. 3,500 people in Teller County and folks from other counties coming in, were going to overwhelm their capability and their food stocks.
November 1st arrived and the Teller County Cares Food Initiative was in motion and moving quickly. To propel the program forward, the Sheriff's Office and County Commissioners campaigned heavily for donations. They also went to food banks to make sure they had everything in place to process through the increased food volume and supplies that would be coming to their organizations.
Well, I think of it as part of the community. Each of these organizations realized they're a part of a bigger picture. The county got involved to almost put a lasso around it to make sure the organization was efficient.
Just having the county step forward to support the nonprofits was incredible. We could not have done all of this work without the county and the first responders.
You know, I was overwhelmed by the true professionalism, love, and caring that individually they all had. So Little Chapel of the Hills, you know, they had a group of volunteers that have been there for years and years and years. But also a sense that they felt overwhelmed. How are they going to do this? And so our presence there was not to inspect, but it was to look and see what their carrying capacity was. Could they handle 500 pounds of beef or turkeys? In some cases they couldn't, which is why the county ended up buying freezers and extra capacity. So if you will, the county's, in addition to reassuring them that we were going to do this with them, we're sort of a centralized distribution point for situational awareness on where those commodities and where those foods were going.
Of course, we had organizations like the Ute Pass Kiwanis Club paying specific attention to the needs of our children.
So the need for the backpack came about because the school district takes care of our children Monday through Friday with food, whether it be breakfast or lunch at school. They're fed. Weekends come though, we don't always know exactly what the needs are at their particular homes. We identified that there was a couple dozen kids that needed assistance over the weekend. The backpack program was developed that we put food in the backpacks, it was discreet, and they had food to take home with them to eat during the weekend.
For the first week, meetings were held every day here in the training room and over a remote access platform. At all times, the meetings were well attended by all primary stakeholders. As the process streamlined itself, the meetings became less frequent. After the daily meetings of the first week, they were held 3 times the second week, and only a Monday meeting was held during the last 2 weeks.
We had weekly meetings as to what was working, where we were struggling, and what our future goals were for the next week. So in these weekly meetings, we were able to put everything on the table as to what was working, what was not. And when one particular organization or aspect of the initiative was having a challenge, we were all able to introduce thoughts, theories into that. So nobody was really left out to hang. Everyone was able to participate in the process. And I think that was probably the most successful part of the process itself.
Both the Sheriff's Office and Community Partnership Family Resource Center produced printed products consisting of handouts and posters to inform the people of the county of the intent and methods of the relief program.
And really our PIO side of it too. The information being released to the community, we were the one source the community was already looking at. So it made it very simple for us to stand up that kind of an operation very quickly and be able to run something that would help the whole community very quickly.
So we were able to expound upon our relationships and our other connections, in addition to the connections that the food banks had themselves, to better disseminate information and get the information out to the public.
At one of the meetings that was held, we needed to get information out quickly in poster form, flyer form around the community. It was my pleasure to offer up my printing business to make those flyers, help organize that, get it back to the Sheriff's Department and the Alliance so that they could distribute them quickly.
A lot of our volunteers, we just did a blitz on the whole county. We tried to cover every business, every school, and the response from the community was phenomenal. I mean, they were more than happy to put up the flyers to make sure people got the information they needed on where they can get their food assistance from.
Because of the county's effort to promote this initiative and to rally support for it, our agency alone, and we weren't the only agency participating, but Community Partnership Family Resource Center gained 100 new donors out of the initiative.
The County Information Technology Division put together and continuously maintained a robust and user-friendly website to be a one-stop shop for those who wanted to donate and for those who needed assistance.
The website was very, very helpful because we couldn't update our own website in real time, so we were able to just refer. We put a QR code on our flyers for families, and we just referred everyone there.
IT also oversaw implementation of software introduced to track the massive amounts of incoming and outgoing food and supplies.
A couple different people from the county and Ted Borden, the director of the Aspen Mine Center, and I had a couple of phone calls, a couple of Zoom calls to try out different software. And absolutely, our opinions were asked. What would be helpful? What would not be helpful? What we thought would work? And we came up with a plan together that worked really well.
We would overwhelm not just food pantries, but what do you do when a truck shows up with 500 cans of tuna in it? Obviously, it'd be nice to spread that tuna around. So we asked Kyle, was there a way to maintain county level awareness so that we could use county vehicles to take these commodities along with sheriff's posses and so many great people that help and move that food around? Well, to do that, obviously automation was the key. So Kyle went and found a software called PantrySoft.
So that program really helped. Park State Bank donated that program for us, and it's in place, able to be used at any time in the future.
That was such an effective program that Governor Polis took that from us and used that in other rural applications.
During that first week, food was collected and distributed to the Community Partnership Family Resource Center, the Aspen Mine Center, the Teller Senior Coalition, and the Little Chapel Food Pantry. Those organizations formed a loose coalition they called the Teller County Food Alliance. They worked well together and with the Teller County government officials. In the second week, Community Cupboard of Woodland Park and Choices joined the effort.
And I was privy to the knowledge that they had a food coalition previously set up that included four out of the 5 food banks that participated, where they shared services, they shared resources, and they were able to, I get too many of these, I get a lot of those, and they distribute them out. We went ahead and included the other food bank that was not a part of it in all this process.
Teller County government officials provided organization, collection, storage, tracking, and advertising. They also conducted 2 very successful food drives, one at Walmart and the other one at City Market. The Sheriff's Office and Commissioners also handed out turkeys the week before Thanksgiving, with 354 turkeys going to residents and local food banks.
And we were doing the turkey handout. I don't know if you remember hearing about that, right here behind the Sheriff's Office. And we went up to the Heritage Center. You know, they had that big drive-through right there in front of the building. People just came right up and they got turkeys. They got turkeys for them. They got turkeys for their neighbors. So that was so great. That's what I loved.
Most days of the program, the commissioners and Lieutenant Bunting could be found out in the county facilitating the initiative and providing continual encouragement to the county's residents.
But no, we would go to all the different events. You know, they had the food serving that they did up at the Aspen Mine Center, and the commissioners were up there. That was great. And you know, and I think the big thing is the community likes to see the commissioners out there. Well, all of us. They like to see everybody out there helping. And so when we did the food distribution at the Little Chapel right here in Divide, that was a great turnout.
Sheriff's Office personnel spent a great deal of time in the background serving as the anchor to keep the initiative from fracturing.
It's important that Teller County understand this agency really cares. This agency also has vehicles, it has capability, it has communications. Dan can come up with an idea along with other people, but I don't have all that capability. But we're teamwork and we're team play. And so early on with Jason, we looked at a construct that he mastered very well during evacuations, during commodities, toys for tots. There's so many things that you guys in the Sheriff's Agency do that we're able to harvest.
It just needed some type of leadership and movement on doing that, and we believe that we could probably provide that and assist the commissioners with reaching their goals that they wanted to put in place to meet the community's needs.
I think the most notable aspect of having the Sheriff's Office involvement in the initiative overall was that we have relationships and associations built within the community that could better facilitate the overall distribution, collection, and the entire process of the Food Drive initiative.
Teller County's residents, businesses, and organizations stood up to the occasion. Unprecedented levels of food, supplies, and money were donated to the collection points throughout the county. They came to fire stations, schools, police and sheriff's offices, government offices, and food pantries to donate selflessly.
Our agency saw over $100,000 in donations. That includes financial contributions, it includes donated food, and it includes a freezer. The county provided us a brand new second freezer because we couldn't collect all the donations that the community was trying to give us because we had no place to store them. So that changed everything.
Citizen volunteers from the Sheriff's Posse gave their time to circulate to the numerous collection points every day to collect donated goods and bring them to the central collection point and to the food banks. They also continued their weekly traffic control work at food distribution points.
So integral in what we do is our volunteer service programs. Our posse, our search and rescue, you can't do what we do without the volunteers we have.
The Sheriff's Posse was here all the time, checking in, bringing us donations and deliveries from other sites, making sure we had what we needed, also taking surpluses from our center to other agencies that needed some of the things that we had too much of on hand. So they were in and out of all of the nonprofit organizations coordinating all of this, and they're very professional and they have a heart to serve, and we were really grateful for their partnership.
We had 27 collection points that we picked food up from, and this is on a daily basis. So we were out on the road. You might have seen our posse vehicle out there, or whatever, but 27 collection points, and we had 2 major food distribution points that we dropped off. And if there was another place that needed it, we would drop it off. We also were getting phone calls from folks that or businesses that were making collections. And so we responded if there was a phone call, and we got in our vehicle, went over there, picked it up, made sure we got the food distribution out.
So the posse really stepped up during the Teller County Food Initiative. We needed someone to go out and check on the drop-off sites daily, and they'd pick up the truck in the morning, and the county gave us a truck to utilize, so we could just go right out and pick stuff up. And they were going out, clear out to, they'd go to the courthouse, they go to Florissant, they go to West Creek.
We also saw a great deal of volunteerism at places like our fire stations.
Any way that we can help the community, that's what we do. My volunteers show up strong, but just to see, how good people really are, and that there are good people out there to help still is pretty amazing.
There were hundreds of people involved in all this because every organization of the 25 or so that came to work with us, they all distributed their efforts, and they got volunteers, we got volunteers, the sheriffs got volunteers. Lots of people got volunteers, so we just became sort of the coordinator process of it.
We got some immediate volunteers of, I can handle this. Like the United Methodist Church volunteered to handle the special needs food organization for those who are on special diets, gluten-free, maybe needed to avoid certain ingredients. They would organize and handle all of that, including the collection and distribution.
Kiwanis is always prepared to volunteer. We're always fundraising, we're always making money. So if something comes up like this situation, we were ready to go. We didn't need to do anything special, We already knew we were prepared to handle whatever situation was asked of us.
Monies received were approximately $155,000 total from Teller County residents, businesses, and organizations, and from the El Primar Foundation. While Colorado law prevented us from receiving donated meats, which Teller County hunters generously tried to give from their personal freezers, a portion of those funds allowed us to legally purchase fresh beef and turkeys and purchase the freezer the food pantries would need to store them for later distribution.
So we showed up at the little chapel and we helped the food drive there. And the one thing I'll tell you is I've worked with those folks for years, Ken and Judy, and they're amazing people and I love them to death. Their volunteer network and systems they had set up were amazing. And we had so many turkeys delivered. At a certain point, Ken had asked me to get in the back of this truck, and I'm throwing frozen turkeys out to people, and it's all I can do to keep up with the demand of unloading this truck with turkeys. And I bet you we had 1,000 turkeys in that truck. It was just massive. I was sore the next day. That was a lot of turkeys.
By the time federal funding resumed, 43 days had passed. Approximately 3,000 Teller County residents on SNAP were deeply affected. Overall, the Teller County Cares Food Initiative, with the participation of the county's residents, became the model for Colorado. While other counties and even the state government were caught flat-footed, Teller County foresaw the crisis, quickly developed a robust plan, and acted decisively. We were left to save ourselves, and that's exactly what we did.
I believe that what we have built as a collaboration through both the COVID response and the food initiative response is sort of a template for the future.
I will tell you, I think we're one of the only communities that had the capability to do this. And I think we were the only ones in the state that actually did it this way. It was a framework that everyone else was trying to catch up to.
This was a whole different situation and one we haven't, really dealt with yet. So I think the direction of the Sheriff's Department and just everybody being united in that made it happen. And it was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely amazing to see. So very heartfelt.
This will not be the last issue we face as a community, but what this issue has shown that no matter what happens, no matter what the need is, we have the ability to come together quickly and disperse not just funds, but whatever the need is, whether it's food, medical services, and so on, we get it done here in Teller County.
Everybody just overwhelmingly went above and beyond in their generousness. The people just turned out. Sorry, it's emotional because it was a neat thing to see all these people helping people.
Certainly get a lot of response from the community itself. They're always waving at us and saying thank you, and we're just glad to be out there to help support them and the Sheriff's Office.
It was very emotional. It's tough for anyone to have to ask for assistance. And what was really nice is that they came up, they said thank you, they hugged us, and that really made me feel good because I want to help.
That was something that I was certainly proud to help with and be a part of. Anything that I can do to continue to support the community and continue to help any efforts to make sure that families get what they need and get the support they need, I'm always happy to be part of.
The people of Teller County knocked this one out of the park. We not only were able to feed everybody who needed food, but we were also able to fill the food banks going all the way through the holiday season, and then also through the cash donations, able to fund those food banks so that it would last for months beyond that immediate need. So, congratulations to the people of Teller County, because it was all of them that made this happen. It was all of them that made it a complete success.
The thing that I found extremely special about this community is that we all come together, right? Who can help? They might not be able to write a check like the Saddle Club could, but they could distribute food. They could show up, they could bring extras that they have.
So I had a guy that came through on the last food drive and handed me $20, because we also collected cash for some of the commodities, and said, I was on food stamps. I was one of the guys that you helped, and now I'm paying it forward. You try not tearing up when that happens.
The past few years now, we've been operating on the theory Teller Strong. And this really brought together the community. Everyone was very supportive of what we were trying to do, and they all played a very valuable part in this. People were really jumping on board and showing up for the effort.
So if you want to know how I found my way home, just join us in the morning. So if you want to know how I found my way home, we'll see you in the morning.